We have the footage.
And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. We got some folks joining us here tonight again. I always appreciate it. So make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me. There's a PayPal link down in the details section for anybody that wants to share some love. And like I said, we got the footage. We're going to review a video I did here a while back called Hawala. What is it, and should you trust it? Good evening, guys. How you doing? Ladies, gentlemen?
I don't trust nothing. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna show you what it is so you learn how to use it.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Pull my video up here. Greetings, Russell. How you doing tonight?
Greetings. Doing well. Hope all's well with you guys.
Slow but sure here.
Good deal.
Okay. Make sure we got everything.
Doing well. Winding down the day because of the crappy weather here.
Shit, we had 75 here today.
It was 70 and beautiful here today.
Yeah. Yeah, you were saying it was shitty out there yesterday too, wasn't it? Of course,
Yeah.
you're on the West Coast, up in the Northwest Coast somewhere.
Me?
No,
Oh.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I don't really want to talk about location right
now. I got you. I'm not trying to dox you or nothing, that's for sure. All right, well, let's get into it.
Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life as usual. I want to talk to you about something tonight. Most people are familiar with how I've been working over the last 6 years, and I'm gaining knowledge as I go, and that's the way it works when you do your research and you're diligent about researching everything. And you know, this system that we're looking at today in this electronic format and everything, and all the credit accounting, they've been working on this for a long time. So we're going to discuss something tonight, and I'm hoping people will share this, just like all other videos, of course. The system that we're working on today is gearing up to go full-blown digital. Everybody hears about the digital accounting and everything, and they're going to supposedly take all the paper fiat currency out of the system. Everybody's going to be doing digital accounting, digital banking. So it's the crypto thing. And this is what I've been explaining to people about crypto for years. You know, when you get involved in that crypto, you're involving yourself in a false trust. It's based upon the digital transactions, and somebody in the middle is taking over that transaction. It's not going from point A to point B like you think it is. Okay. There's always going to be a middleman, and who you decide who that middleman is up to you.
Remember, we discussed this on the blockchain private tactics stream the other day, where when you put information into this electronic system, it's not going directly from point A to point B. Like I said, it's going out into a decentralized system where you have all kinds of people that are gathering up that same information and holding it, and they're going to hopefully get some kind of value out of it through contact information, where they can sell you advertisement. That's what it's all about, is advertisement. What is enticement? That's enticement. Oops.
May I, Keith, before
I hope people will start learning.
Sure.
It's interesting that you say this with synchronicity. I just got in about maybe an hour and a half ago, and that's exactly what was on my mind from the information that I had gathered. So it's interesting that that was the first thing you talked about.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm hoping to do, is show everybody how it correlates, and doing these reviews and everything to show how the dots connect. Because like I said, with the review that we did on the blockchaining, that's what this electronic system is. It's a blockchain system with the timestamps being securitized for every keystroke.
Indeed, because what I was
to make
told is that these applications have to do with application and administrative process through these advertisements. I yield.
Yep, it's all administrative because everything is presumed internal because even these corporations are operating under the laws of the United States.
wiser choices and realize it should never be a quote banker or broker. It should be the Postal Service. They are the ultimate authority over those transactions. They have a cybersecurity network set up so that it protects them. So if you use their system,
And like I said, it's their system. Everything that is posted for all accountings of events, even when you go on and post on Facebook or other social sites, YouTube here, these are called posts. Understand that. They're the ultimate authority that gathers all the information, and they have an agreement with the Director General of the International Bureau, which is relative to the Bureau of Vital Statistics, whereas the state's vital statistics jurisdiction is established when you are born. It is exclusive to the individual's name and number, which is a statistical record, the census. Top to bottom, it's all data elements that they're using for advertisements to entice you into their corporate activities.
Are those military posts?
Yes. That's why they have the Patriot Act and the cybersecurities and the agreement with the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, and everything under the United States Postal Service. The registered agent is under the Postal Regulatory Commission. Everything is enumerated through the state's Social Security Commission.
system and make it blatant and true by establishing your own domain extension as a non-commercial private foundation.
And that's dependent upon the National Health Commissioner. You know who your National Health Commissioner is? Should look her up. She was born a fucking male, and she looks disgusting and gross.
It automatically, the system itself automatically takes over. So if you've got, like me right now, I've got the PayPal, but it's on the other side of that domain extension. It's still out there in their domain where somebody else, like PayPal, Zoom, can take over that transaction. And so I have to deal with, like I did PayPal, I have to deal with Zoom to try to get that taken care of, because at this point, it's not established as a transit routing for those wire transfers.
See, basically, the thing with Zoom is they don't want to allow you to enter into an agreement, not a contract, but an agreement as a customer, and allow you to customize the contract. Their terms say consumer and don't deal with customers. Again, and that's an international Zoom platform. They have to follow international communications, copyrights, and all those, just like everybody else. That's a public accommodation. They're denying one's ability to post in a public platform.
That part of it is still established in that old record that needs to be corrected yet. So while I've got the private foundation established, the record that existed prior is still there and it's still operative, and I have to find a way to get that moved over to the other side yet.
And I'm going to show you guys something real quick. Again, the keys are in the Bibles, the scriptures. We're going to look at, what is it? King James Version, Jeremiah 51:31. And I want you to understand this concept here as we're talking about this Hawala and all these third-party interveners that are capturing that information in the electronic digital world. See, that's an interference with Jeremiah 51:31. It says, one post shall run to meet another. That's one post to another post, just like it is, and one messenger to meet another messenger. I don't need somebody interfering with the message. See, it's about the message, folks. It's not about me. It's about the message. And when we have somebody interfering with that message and misinterpreting it and misappropriating the values therein, that's on them. They're not supposed to be doing that. That's why you're supposed to be able to allow your yay to be your yay and your nay to be nay. To shew the king of Babylon that the city is taken at the one end. These are all keys to learn how to do this stuff and not let them interfere.
That's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on, getting a few people to realize that I can't be licensed. And through those commercial entities, it will enforce what I'm saying through the state record that, hey, somebody's been operating this account in error all its life. Not all my life, all of its life. And so what we're looking at today is something called Hawala. Okay. When computers first.
And understand all of its life. Okay. Its life started as a prenatal record and will include those prenatal records, proving that the person has been in fact observable in the record prior to being named as such person through the personage of mom, because mom is the one that gave them those data elements.
Came out, like I said before, that everything was on paper. They didn't have the digital form. And then computers came out, and already as soon as they came out, when those computers came out, they first came out as decoders. They had foreign languages that they weren't able to read, but they could program it into a computer that could think about it quicker. In that decoding, they set up a code system. Okay, that's how the computer system, the entire electronic system runs, is through a digital system. An electronic system that is coded by numbers. Okay, it's the same thing as all your foundational documents, like the Constitution and stuff. They have enumerations in them. Now, the foundational document itself, according to the Treaty of Berne, has no legal significance. You can read that in Treaty of Berne. The Constitution itself, it doesn't have any legal significance. So that tells us the legal significance. And again, it doesn't come from the law of nations. It's the Treaty of Berne that states that. So the legal significance should come from the Treaty of Berne, right?
And so the only true legal significance of a constitution, as I've said before, is that it's copyright material under the Universal Postal Union. It's a literary work of art that is protected by the Treaty of Berne. That's where it gets its delegation of authority. It's merely the terms of art that they use in their language.
Okay. Like I've been explaining to people, Treaty of Berne is what indentures the universal Constitution of the Universal Postal Union.
Specifically for trade and commerce, which is, as we discussed a day or two ago, lingua franca. A Frankish tongue as a third person language to bring two other cultures together so they can understand what each other is conveying. A vehicular language to move things.
And that indentures both the Treaty of Berne and the Law of Nations, and then everything else is under that. That Universal Postal Union operates all postal roads and routes from end to end, country of origin to final destination, and all points in between. There shouldn't be any points.
And see, those points in between is the thing that violates freedom of transit throughout the entire territory of the Union. If it's meant to go from point A to point B and somebody captures it and makes value out of it, is that free? Are they creating something? Are they creating a debt out of something they're not supposed to be? That's the importance of having that hybrid private email with that obvious domain extension .art.
In between, though. So the Hawala that we see today is actually what's known as a trust. So let's look at the term Hawala. And I want people to pay attention. This is an Investopedia. It's an investment term. Okay? That's why I source.
Did you know when you go to the bank and the bank issues, just like we talked about the purchase order from the dealership, the dealership issues a purchase order, and when we went over that, it showed us that the issuer of the purchase order is the buyer, and that the one receiving the purchase order is a seller. So what is it that you sold? See, technically what's supposed to happen there is that you're supposed to give them the credit source so that the credit can be extended by the customer, so long as it's understood that as that third party, the credit is given to the customer's account. And so, yeah, and there you go. He's on it. When the bank issues you an application, even to open an account, that's an issuance of a borrower, which is the same as a buyer in the purchase order. So the application extended by the bank, issued by the bank, again, on the other side, you're not a seller, you're the lender. What are you lending? You're lending in continuum the same data elements that they got when you were born. That extension of those data elements is a personal activity that is an event that is then accounted for and posted. You are allowed to post just like they are. The difference is that your yay is to be your yay and your nay is to be your nay, and you have to know how to say that. You have to let them know that, hey, I am the grantee. I'm the one that's supposed to receive the benefit. I am the lender. You are the borrower, by your own definitions. Go ahead, sister.
Yes, definitely, Keith, because today I was inquiring, like I said, on some things for someone, and I was asking, what you call it, nonsensical questions. And she said, well, did they have to do a credit check? And I said, well, do you do a hard pull of a credit check or do you do a soft pull of a credit check? And she said, well, we have to do a credit check. And she was trying to explain to me they can't do, the discrimination, but before anything could be done, to get into what I was inquiring about, they needed to do that application and do a credit check first. I yield.
Yeah, and that's the importance of understanding what that credit check is. When I get done here with this stream, I think I might come back with another stream. I've got some etymological terms I want to go over, and it's going to source that to the Social Security. That's the source credit. That's where everything's being transferred or turned into electronic book entries. But I don't know if I'll do that tonight or tomorrow, but I think I'm going to do it tonight. It just depends.
Investopedia for a lot of the commercial terms, trust terms, things like that. Money, legal tender, currency, national currency, reserve currency, things like that. You look them up on the investment sites, Fidelity, GMEI, but I like Investopedia. So what is Hawala and should you trust it? Hawala is an informal, and don't get that wrong, folks. I tell everybody everything's backwards. So when you read this, it doesn't mean it's informal. It doesn't mean form. It means it's in a formal format.
In other words, it's like your notices and letters, private letters and things like that. If you know how they're constructed so that they're legible and comprehensible, that's what we're talking about. It's a matter of formatting them so they can be comprehended. So in a Hawala is an informal. It's literally saying it's in format. It's got its own specific format, but that format is open to interpretation. If you guys understand that. Formal means it is formatted. This here says it's in a format form. It's in some type of format. You just have to define it.
Yep. Banks are custodial credit operations.
Right, and that's what we're talking about when we address these banks and let them know that, hey, I need you to I need that application to open a trust account. Well, that application that they issue, just that act, is the very definition of a borrower. The very act on the other side of the counter is a lender or investor, and that's literally what we're talking about. It's an investment format. You just have to define your position in that investment format.
Matthew 18 verses 15 through 20. Come to your brother in private. It's informal. It's private.
Yeah, it's not formatted in a public form where you have to follow this particular application for this or this particular application for this. You're going to the bank and you're accepting that application, and that application as a lender of the data elements under the trust is to make sure that all financial transactions are handled through the bank, who is the trustee assigned for that collaboration or cooperative agreement of that trust, to make sure that one post meets the other post and nobody interferes.
Hawala is an informal, private method of transferring money without any physical money actually moving. Method of transfer.
So if it's not physical, meaning tangible, then it is intangible. The only system we have that is intangible and used as a way of transferring money, but not in physical form, is the electronic system, which is the credit system. That's where everything's converted from the physical definitive paper form to the electronic form.
Transferring money without any physical money actually moving. Does that sound like today's credit system? Well, it's this account has this much money in it, so we're going to credit this other account with that money first. Then we're going to deduct the credits from this account because this account has now been proven to be paid. The transfer is proven, so now the accounts payable is taken care of. Accounts receivable is taken care of on this side. When we have a money man in the middle, this accounts receivable still gets taken care of because the man in the middle got it. So this it automatically gets deducted. But if that middleman's the wrong middleman, guess what? You just got ripped off. You just got ripped off.
See, what's happening is they've got you in the paying position. You're convinced that you have to pay for everything, and they're using the credits.
Okay, it is described as money transfer without money movement. Another definition is simply trust.
Did you understand that?
Without money movement. Another definition is simply trust.
So Keith, the paying part that you're talking about is where when you go to acquire some type of a service, they are saying you have to give of something that would be considered a consideration. Am I correct for the payment?
Right. But when we look at the definition of finance and other things, which is one of the etymologies I'm talking about, we find out the reality is we're the ones that are paying for everything, so therefore we're the ones financing it. If we're the financiers, what is that? We're the creditors, right? We're the ones lending, right? We're the ones selling something and supposed to receive something in exchange, right? What is it we're selling? What is it we're lending? What is we're investing? Coin your words or purse your lips. You have to invest in the words, folks.
Right. So that's where the words of art come in, where you're literally investing your data elements. You're selling that source of information in order to receive some kind of benefit or privilege from a service, correct?
Correct. When you don't, when in this system, if you don't qualify that signature, it leaves a presumption. And understand, folks, it's merely just a presumption. So even if you didn't qualify the instruments, it's still just a presumption, and all you have to do is qualify that you weren't in that capacity, didn't know of that capacity, aren't knowledgeable of that capacity, don't know legalese, and didn't understand it. You still don't understand it, because in simple terms, it's just a trust. Right? Isn't that what that said? Isn't that what that said? Let's play that back.
Okay, it is described as money transfer without money movement. Another definition is simply trust.
Is simply trust. Keep it simple, folks.
So if you're using commercial paper, are you operating in trust?
Hey, Keith.
Or is it a false trust? If you do it electronically.
Yes, sir.
So I did something similar along the lines of this years ago, before I knew much of anything other than I was dealing with this credit union, and I had taken all my money out of an emergency situation, and they still went ahead and charged me for this recurring payment by putting the account in the negative, and then of course charging me fees for the account in the negative. That they did, and I found the language of the account that said they had a fiduciary duty, and I hit them with that, because I just said, look, you had a duty. You saw what was going on in this account, that there was no money in it, and then you still took 100 out, and then you want to still charge me for that overdraft as well. I mean, it had gotten up to like $300, $400. I was like, I'm not paying that, people. And I just blew them off. Never heard a word one again.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, is they have to realize that before something can be put into that record, there has to have it has to have a definitive paper form with a definitive amount. That's all they credit to that account. So if somebody comes in and tries to take more, they're the ones conveying that you will pay it when you never promised that, and they have no record of it. They didn't get your first-hand witness to it and validate that debt. Somebody came and collected a debt without validating it. That's undue process. Go ahead, sister.
Oh, I remember as a child, my family, because they wanted to try to teach us how to do, financial, banking, and how to conduct ourselves once we became into adulthood. And I remember my mom opened up credit union accounts for us. At the time, they were like really popular, and all it took was like $5. But if the account was closed, the credit union still kept $5 on their books to keep that account open.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Because, see, you gave them $5, right? That was a felony. What'd they do when you closed that account? They committed another felony, showing that you were willing to still commit felonies by accepting that payment.
Well, from what I understand is when my dad passed form, and I had to go to the credit union to get some background information from them. The account was literally still open, still showing a minimum of $5. So it was never closed. So I don't know how that goes,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody noticed them.
I yield.
Ironically, and you don't have the right middleman, is it too a false trust? Why is it a false trust? Because you're the one liable.
They make you liable. Like I said, they're in that system. They're supposed to be trustees of some sort. If they're gathering and collecting information to use as particularly location information to use against the one that's granting the information. Okay? They're not assigned as trustees for that particular grant. But if it's not discerned appropriately, it will be assumed, presumed, implied, and otherwise a part of a public trust in the global postal trust services worldwide. Understand your position in being able to post as a creator. Go ahead, sister.
In my travels today, when I was doing the inquiring about some services to be rendered, and they were talking about an application had to be made first, in my questioning, the woman was saying to me that they have to do, once they do the application process, they have to do an assignment. And it kind of threw me off when she said that. So,
Well, yeah. Understand again.
What was that all about?
Well, understand again that every contract has to be backed by a trust. So when you fill out an application, somebody's got to be entrusted as a trustee. What happens is that you're the one that signs it. You don't qualify it that you're not the trustee and not going to take on liabilities, nor give up your rights, titles, and interest to property without recourse, without prejudice, paid to the order of, by, benefactor, for beneficiary.
And that includes even when they're trying to force you to sign shit like in the courtroom and all that nonsense?
Absolutely. See, the benefactor is the one that gives to the beneficiary. They're holding the beneficiary, which is just the record. You gave them the data elements that creates the record. So you're the one giving, which is granting the information. Free of charge. What are they doing? They're turning around charging you as the benefactor through a beneficiary position as if though you're a trustee. How is that done? Social Security. 18, you fill out an SS5, they send you a card, it's got 2 little columns on it. You'll be surprised what them 2 little columns mean. Anyway, we sign that, and that says authorized representative. Who authorized you? In that capacity, it's the Social Security Administration granted you the authority to sign. Beneficiary is not required to do anything, including sign. So now that you've signed, you've assumed the position of a trustee, and you perform the functions thereof, similarly without knowing.
Allegedly volunteering such things.
Correct. Gifts. See, they know you're giving them as gifts. If you know that, you have to understand how much that gift is worth so that you get in exchange for giving to the beneficiary that they're going to use as the investment.
But that's inducement when we sign, Keith. Isn't it? False understanding of our risks and obligations.
Right. Certain deceptive forms. And that's what I'm talking about with this electronic system and trying to warn you on what you're doing here. These online applications like getting a profile on Facebook or any other social site, that's an application. Now what's happening is they're taking those data elements and using them against you and striking your channel. You understand that concept there? They're not allowed to do that. They're in a Hawala, and in that they're supposed to be a trustee because simply it's a trust, and I'm the one giving. That particular thing known alone destroys any concept of them placating that I am a trustee.
Well,
Go ahead.
isn't that similar to like a telephone number, Keith? Like when they tell people they have to pay the bill and they don't, they have so many months and then they pull that number from, isn't that the same as what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's an international trust. Again, that phone service, that's a communication service. It's a postal service. And you always have to go through an intermediary, always. To get from point A to point B, it has to go through a phone company, a trustee. You're granting information from point A to point B. You are the benefactor, the one receiving it. The intended party to receive it is the one that's supposed to benefit from it, not the man in between, as a private investment. Of course, there should be compensation for their labor and their due diligence, but that's it. People know that. They learn how this stuff works. The source of that payment is a credit account that's already there. It's been there since the prenatal record. That was the origin.
And we're not
Remember my
aware
video yesterday?
that we're waiving our constitutional rights or other rights every time we sign.
Well, God granted rights is what I call them. Because I don't refer to the Constitution as my rights. They don't grant me nothing. They just enumerate them in the article, the first 10 articles, known as the Bill of Rights. And in that, they do declare that they can't be enumerated. There are others that are not enumerated, therefore saying they can't definitively say they go from point A to point B. They start at this point, and we cannot find these here that we've enumerated 10 times or in these 10 articles, but there may be many more. Today they're raising transgender rights. That's not in the Constitution.
Right.
Yesterday. Concise construction. If you don't construct it concisely, you're the one that's liable. It's up to you. You're the one that has to build your foundation or prove your foundation and not try to construct it on somebody else's foundation as if, oh, that's your foundation. We're not supposed to.
Yeah, you can't be using those IDs and driver's license to build a trust through a UCC or some shit like that, guys. Come on. I mean, if that's what you're going to do, understand what you're doing there and make sure you know always how to assert that you are, in fact, that investor, as that term is defined, and make sure you have competency, full powers to do the accounting.
Pay a tribute to an earthly father, for there's but one Father which art in heaven, and that's where your true trust should be. And so in every matter that you do, you should make sure that the one on the other end of the line is not
Contribution, distribution, pay tribute.
a middleman. So keep taking your cases to court and dealing with the middleman. I'm not going to deal with the middleman anymore. I've got my site set up, and now I deal with the man, the one that poses the trust, as we explained a few days ago in another video. If that's the trust, and they're the ones that provide all the security.
That's that last review I did on the Global Postal Trust, the post office.
Cybersecurity for all of the routing, and you have a private route, that should show that your connection is not to be interrupted through third parties unless they are qualified third parties through the granting party. In the electronic case, the Postal Union, who uses the International Parliamentary Union as a sister union, just like the Treaty of Berne has a sister set of codes, a sister construct, a sister document. They're sister foundational documents, the Treaty of Berne and Law of Nations. Under that, you've got the Universal Postal Union and the International Parliamentary Union to enforce the code of Her Majesty's Uniform Customs Codes in alliance with the Universal Postal Union and the Law of Nations. That's their trust. And it's already set up through the cybersecurity that they put in their electronic system that regulates all of the other electronic environments in that system. So let's go on. That's who the true trust is with. And that's who you should establish it with. And you should establish it as a beneficiary, a non-commercial private foundation.
Again, not legal advice here, folks, just my opinion.
And not a .com site. As a .com site, you are the middleman and the other parties are the beneficiary. Understand that. You are partaking as the middleman with .com sites, guys.
And again, if you're in that position and you do have a .com site, again, make sure that you assert that trustee position as well as the construct of it and who the officers are and all that. Make sure you have it set up with your ability to hire an attorney through a board of directors. That means you have to be organized under the Federal Reserve, 12 U.S.C. 614.
Hawala is used today as an alternative remittance channel route that exists outside of traditional banking systems. The traditional banking systems are inside the alternative remittance channel, which is the postal union. Transactions between Hawala brokers. See, when you use a .com site, you're a broker. The presumption of the record is you are a broker, or you are a relative or connected directly to a broker who can handle the commercial transactions.
Because as a .com site, you are collecting data elements of your consumers for profit, so that you can sell those data elements or use them in advertisement directives to send advertisements to certain consumers that you're dealing with. Broker dealer.
And they are made without promissory notes because the system
Brokering the data elements for value.
is heavily based on trust. And the balancing of Hawala brokers' books, which are the trustees, the holders of the records, and not the beneficiaries of the system, because the beneficiaries of the system don't keep books. Not for public use. For private use in public domain.
That's that journal. See, it's either a private journal or a public journal.
See, these Hawala brokers outside the system, or inside the system, that's for public use. An alternative remittance channel is a private channel. Key takeaways. Hawala, sometimes referred to as underground banking, is a way to transmit money without any currency actually moving. So, that currency is the fiat currency known as the commercial paper. So, it is a way of transmitting money without any paperwork. Okay, it's a digital transfer. That's all it is. Hawala networks.
And I didn't necessarily mean to say paperwork, but paper money. You know, like checks, money orders, cash, things like that. Things in definitive paper form. Even a judge's order for a fine. There's a transfer, an electronic transfer onto a record from a definitive paper order.
Have been used since ancient times.
And that order is a money order in electronic form.
And today are widely found among expats, expatriates, sending remittances home. They're telling you people how to do this and where to do it from. The appropriate.
So just give them the source of credits, if you know where that's at. And have them obtain, or let them know that you appreciate obtaining their services on credit. In that Social Security card, a card that you can use to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. I mean, they did give you a service, right?
Angle, the appropriate approach, according to concise English. It's the appropriate approach, an outside approach, an alternative channel. Hawala provides anonymity in its transactions, as official records are not kept, and the source of money that is transferred cannot be traced. Hawala is finding a footing in the world of financial technology, which grants access to money transfers among the unbanked and underbanked populations of the world. Unbanked. Did someone bank you? Did somebody put levies on each side of you so they could channel you?
See why it's important to set up a private blockchain? They're telling you right here in these electronic forums. Says money that is transferred cannot be traced. Is Fedwire a Hawala? In a sense, yeah, but not one of these. They have cybersecurity. There's a lot of these people out here that have cybersecurity, but it's set up for them and not the people that are entering the data elements in there. Fedwire is a little bit different. They know the identification of the people entering that stuff in this system.
I don't know who's watching this, but it's 6:35 p.m. and I got 3 viewers. So whoever's watching this, please share the hell out of this, guys, because this is just sickening. I'm trying to show people the reality in the concise construction.
And notice it says unbanked and underbanked populations of the world. I think there's plenty of banks. I think they need to quit borrowing from the people and deceiving the people. I think that alone would save the people a lot of money in that sense.
Of the language, and nobody wants to pay attention. So please, brothers, share this as much as possible. Some countries, like India, have made Hawala illegal due to its informal nature and absence of regulation or oversight. Some countries, like India, have made Hawala illegal due to its informal nature and absence of regulation or oversight. This shows you that India, as a country, does not understand the private channeling. This tells you that the people that are running this place called India don't understand this concept. Because if they did, they would have their own .gov site and realize it's regulated under the .post domain, which is the cybersecurity domain of the world. See, when I go onto my site, BraveNet is the host server. Whenever you get on the internet, the ultimate host server is the Postal Union. Understand this. Hawala originated in South Asia during the 8th century and is used throughout the world today, particularly in the Islamic community, as an alternative means of conducting funds transfers. Unlike the conventional method of transferring money across borders through bank wire transfers, money transfer in Hawala is arranged through a network of Hawaladers or Hawala dealers. So when you deal with this wire transfer in the bank wires, which is not a postal wire, remember this, bank transfers are not the same as postal wires, okay? Money transfer in Hawala is arranged through a network of Hawala dealers. That's telling you there's a multiple, at least 2. Okay. So now if you think you're dealing with a middleman in these transactions, like I said with PayPal and Zoom, I'm trying to get rid of the middleman, so it's going straight through the top dog and directly to me, from the point of origin to the top dog, so he can commit to his duty and transit it directly to the final destination. Okay.
This is the importance of that statement that I found in the sales agreement from the emergency room. And basically, in basic context, it says, customer agrees to make third-party payment for consumer so long as it's understood that credit is given to the customer's account. Real simple, guys.
Is the original trust dealer. Hawala dealers keep an informal journal, okay? Not a record, an informal journal.
There's that journal again. Public journal, private journal. Here we have informal journal, which is supposed to be exposed if you can find fraud, meaning that they're holding it private, but it's actually gathered from public elements, data elements from the public. Have to give credit where credit is due.
Record all credit and debit transactions on their accounts.
And if they say they can't find the source of the money, then how can they give credit where credit is due? See how it's in dishonor already? Just by that element alone, folks. Be very aware of what you're doing on this internet.
It's a private journal on their accounts. It's not a record. It's their record, which is known as a journal. An informal journal being a private journal. Debt between Hawala dealers can be settled in cash, property, or services. Debt between Hawala dealers can be settled in cash, property, or services. Not private.
So again, if you're not coming from a position that is absolute, and there's a presumption that you're just another trustee, guess what? And they're going to see you as a trustee that's in debt, and they want to settle that debt with you.
Private entities. Private entities use the International Bank of Settlements with that International Parliamentary Union and the Postal Union through Congress. See, it's the union, the Postal Congress that judicially regulates the United States Congress. All them governors and the president, they all have a duty to.
See, when they're using that name, that's a copyright issue. And just like the UPU copyright disclaimer, all you got to do is give credit where credit is due, and that's what they're not doing. If they gave credit where credit is due, they would know that everything they get in a profit of any sense could only be had by you putting the data elements in, whereby they construct the value.
The Director General of the International Union, the Director General of the International Bureau. A Hawalader who does not keep their record or keep their end of the deal in the implied contractual system of Hawala will be tagged as one who has lost their honor and will be
has lost their honor. Like I said, they're already in dishonor because it's an implied contractual setup. So if you don't have, in fact, a contract, in other words, if you don't have, in fact, a commercial site showing that you're a contractor, investor, firm, some kind of corporate entity, and acting as such, then there's no way they can get that commercial value from you if you have a private, non-commercial domain extension. That point of origin shows that there is a point of credit and that it is centralized to one specific address. Go ahead.
So is that the reason why they instituted everything based on a .com? And how what does one do? Does one now recreate their own website?
That's what I'm urging everybody. Again, it's not legal advice. It's just from my experience, I find it a safeguard. Like I mentioned, Yahoo Mail. I've had a Yahoo email account for over 25 years. And even though they're a .com site, they're the top of the line when it comes to security because they're the first email account site. And so they get the first dibs on all the security improvements. So I don't have to worry about any security on my Yahoo email. I don't think. I never have. That's where I keep all my files mostly, because I don't have to worry about external drive. I can download all videos and everything. That drive, their servers are massive. You think Google's got big servers? Yahoo was the first email long before Google even came about. People have been downloading information into Yahoo for a long time, and they've just kept acquiring better and better and bigger servers, along with the update most current cybersecurity. This is what we're supposed to do on our end. So again, if you've got a .com site, I urge you to be very wary of it. Even if you have a private domain, you still have to be very wary of it, because you have to know exactly what your position is. Like I said, I went through BraveNet, and they're a .com site, so they have a contractual agreement, and it is a trust. And the transfer of my money electronically to pay them proves it. It also proves my position because I'm the one that financed it. Pay means finance. Finance means pay. They both mean settle a debt.
Communicated from the network or region. Okay? If you're a private entity.
Notice that term, excommunicated. They will no longer be allowed to collect debts. Communication means the conveyance of a debt. They've shown they're not honorable to convey debts.
And they violate the private routing. You can have them excommunicated. That's their wallet. It isn't the Congress of the United States that regulates the fiat currency known as commercial paper within their system. It's the implied contractual system that they're operating as the electronic form when they start demanding emails and shit and start communicating with you through email or post their .com sites.
So when you have that email, again, like I said, I've got that yahoo.com email. I've even got a couple Google Mail emails, but the most secure one, even though on the site itself says not secure, that's because there's no security instrument involved. Okay? If there was a security instrument involved, it would mean that I was possibly operating as a trustee. It would be a presumption, unless I could make sure that's clarified again if I have a .com site. But again, it would still mean that I'm the one financing everything. Go ahead.
So when it says HTTPS, does that mean it's a securitized site? And without the S, that means it's unsecured. Am I correct?
No, it'll literally tell you in that address box before even before the address even is there. Before the address, it'll say not secure.
You can have them removed from the World Wide Web, and therefore they lose their advertisement, and therefore their money goes down greatly because people now have to use snail mail. Okay?
See, this is what they're doing with the YouTubers and streamers when they strike their channel. They're excommunicating you, saying that you don't know how to convey a debt. Again, coin your words or purse your lips, because your words can create debts. They can hurt feelers. So be very careful about how you hurt other people's feelers. See, when I call them bitch-ass slaves, I'm willing to own up that I'm a bitch-ass slave too. I'm learning how to unshackle everything.
Tell me if you think the commercial paper is going to go digital. How can commercial paper go digital if today's legal tender is known as negotiable instrument, and you can write down your negotiable instrument despite anybody else's rates of currencies?
See, if they put everything digital, and then all these sites don't allow you a way to put your terms and conditions in there, or veto, line item veto and overwrite things, then that denies your right to express yourself.
This is the stuff we have to think about, that it says excommunicated. You no longer have lines of communication. You've fallen out of honor and no longer have the ability to negotiate. You've proven your incompetence. This is why I ask people not to act like me when I did in my last court case. Don't be a belligerent. Come in peace, be at peace, and pass in peace. I'm still working on this today. I know the struggle. I'm working on it. But I express to you that it is imperative, because this is truly how it works. So again, I urge everybody to set up their own private sites. .art extension, .literature extension if you're a poet.
You can even create your own extensions.
You like to write a lot of poetry.
You'll want to make sure that you double check your extension against any others that might exist, because there can be confusions, like .bar. There's a couple of those. One of them specifically for a guy that owns a bar, whereas the other one being for the bar association. So, just a note.
Put it under a .literature. If you like to express your talents in educating people in a certain thing, you can put it as a .edu. You can truly put it as a .gov if you establish yourself as your own private government. But again, that domain extension is regulated by the Postal Service. So you have to ask them about the regulations and qualifications for using a .gov site.
And .post is the top domain, and then .com is supposed to be a top domain as well. But again, you have to remember that it's just like the thing about having a strong nation with a dumb population. That's impossible. So if you're not smart about it, that .com isn't so much a top domain in that sense.
By setting up a private site with a non-commercial entity, and then just being allowed to post it on the World Wide Web, that shows you that you're already under the postal regulations and are in honor, because you haven't been excommunicated. And that's not—
You haven't been conveying debts. You owe no man anything, and until they can prove that you owe a debt, you can't be treated as conveying any kind of debt. They would have to prove that you conveyed a debt already, that you in fact owe them that debt.
Isn't that also impersonating Congress by paying debt?
Well, yeah, Congress shall lay and collect taxes, duties,
And pay the
imposts,
debt.
and excise. Exactly. Congress even issues forth that USC 8, or excuse me, 18 USC 8 obligations and other securities of the United States, and in it it says stamps and other representatives of value. So let me ask you: is credit a representative of value, and is debt a representative of value? How about debit? Isn't the United States obligated for representatives of value? I mean, let's make it real simple. Fuck everything else, huh?
Up again under a new name. That's what the digital system allows. But for the old, all the old orders and everything, and old customers, to get them to convert, they now have to give them notice through the snail mail of their new site. So it's still, it's still effective to slow them down, let them know that you're not going to be monkeyed with, things like that. And this is what I wish people would start coming together on, because you're all doing it wrong. If you're writing documents and you don't know what you're writing and you're handing it to them, they know you're liable because you sound like an idiot. So let's get on to the next one. So as I'm diligently doing my research, and again, this is Investopedia, I'll post all these links and everything, but this is, it talks about the foreign exchange right there. To encourage foreign exchange transfer through Hawala. Dealers sometimes exempt expatriates from paying fees.
You catch that? That's foreign exchange. Everything is a foreign exchange, folks. Everything is a foreign exchange.
So Keith, in the advent of these judges making opinions, is that considered some kind of representative form of value?
Absolutely. What are they representing? Fines, fees, penalties, taxes, court costs, surcharges, excises. They're doing the same thing that was just mentioned, Congress.
Yes, they are. They are. Correct.
Greetings, Hopkinson. How you doing, JG?
Good, Keith.
Good to hear you.
Why is that? Because like I said, Hawala is the postal union, and they guarantee freedom of transit is guaranteed throughout the entire territory of the union. They cannot charge fees. You just have to prove that you're not an expatriate, but actually a private foundation. That's all it takes.
And that would be an expatriate, that you cannot patronize the United States simply because they conferred a nationality onto you. What you can do is have a cooperative agreement that you're not going to convey any debts. That if anybody tries to convey a debt in the name of the United States citizen or the state resident, it would be a claim against the United States itself.
You're a private foundation. All you do is freely express your artistic creativity. Your artistic creativity. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. He created all of us, and we are all his creatures. And we are told to minister his word unto all creatures. Okay? So let's go on to the next one. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, that is CISA.gov. Okay, this is, and it tells you it's page 3. They've got various number of pages. You know, if we go back, you'll see this is page 2.
And you'll notice right up here in this corner, Iman, this is what I was talking about. If it's secured site, it'll have a padlock. It'll have a padlock showing that it's secured. If it's not secured, it right there, it will say not secure.
This is page 1. And all I did was, you know, just click on some things and I got to this page, and it says National Cyber Awareness.
And the ones that are not secure, those are private. The ones that are padlocked, those are generally qualified government type sites. And the ones that don't have anything, like Amazon, eBay thing, those are the Hawalas in this electronic system. Think about it. You don't go to eBay and shop at eBay, do you? You don't have a physical location where you can walk up to a cashier at the register and hand them cash or a card or anything like that. Everything is done in the electronic forum. In that forum, the presumption is an implied contract. They already have a contract, and what they're doing is extending that contract to you, when actually what you did was provided information for a purchase order. So in exchange for them buying something from you, you sold them something. You get the equal exchange of the product that you ordered through that purchase order. Go ahead.
So will they be considered like a registered representative?
Well, yeah, they got to be licensed, registered, everything. That's why they've got the ability to do the financial instruments in the electronic forum. They've had authorization to broker those deals. It's an electronic broker agreement. Many people just don't understand this.
System. That's the NCAS.
Oh. It was already made, you just put it in the microwave.
Securing end-to-end communications. Okay. I clicked on that.
Well, that works fine.
And it comes up to this page. Overview. Yeah. Securing end-to-end communications systems affected network systems.
Oh, okay.
It's an internet work system.
Alrighty.
Internet work system. Okay. Learn how to comprehend this stuff. Securing end-to-end communications plays an important import-export role in protecting privacy and preventing some forms or informals of man-in-the-middle attacks. Man-in-the-middle attacks. Okay. This is what I explained to PayPal without using these terms. But now that we know this, we can use this. PayPal is providing a man-in-the-middle attack, going through a Hawala system, communicating with another Hawala, saying that this guy, me, Keith Little, faith-based union, owes money. When that is false. That is a man-in-the-middle attack. Recently,
this is back when they were threatening. PayPal was trying to tell me I owe taxes and I need to give them information and communicate with IRS. And I said, no, you are intervening with a donation and calling it a payment. And they tried telling me, well, that's the only way our system enters it. I said, no, you have friends and family under donations, and that clearly specifies the terms. It's a donation. I'm on the other end from point A. This is point B. I'm supposed to receive it. You're the man in the middle interfering. Where do you get the authority to change the definition and intent? Contact the one that donated it and ask them if it was a payment or if they donated.
Researchers described a MITM attack used to inject code.
And while we're on it, please, again, there's a PayPal link down below for anybody that wants to share some love. And if you do use it, make sure you use friends and family. And of course, the StreamYard link is down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. Hit that like, share, and subscribe real quick, folks.
causing unsecured web browsers around the world to become unwitting participants in a distributed denial of service attack. The same code can be employed to deliver an exploit for a particular vulnerability or to take other arbitrary actions.
Arbitrary actions. Okay? It's an implied contract, means it's arbitration implied as well. Not filing suits, but arbitrating. That's a negotiation. It remains a negotiable instrument.
People pay attention to the email scams and stuff that you get to say that you're due a refund because a subscription plan was renewed. Norton, Zelle, PayPal, Amazon, or any kind of order was put to your credit card, and they're offering you a refund if it wasn't your transaction. First, check with your bank account, see if that transaction actually was deducted, and if it wasn't, just change your account number and stuff. Go through the hassle of changing that. Don't even call these people up, okay? Because what they're doing is they're using a third-party Hawala to
get your location information. Again, this is why it's important for you yourself to comprehend the security system and what it's supposed to protect and how to do that yourself. And it is really simple, actually.
In that network systems capture emails, and in those, so what they do is they can get into those emails and they get certain information. They can't get your financial information, but just like Google and Facebook and Twitter and stuff, they can go into your file and pick out personal identification information and sell it, advertise to you, things like that. And
this is what these collection agencies do when you have a credit card collection. The bank has a contractual obligation. They extended that to you. That's an implied contract. In that implied contract, like I just said, there's implied arbitration as well. Rather than arbitrate with you, they sold it to a debt collector, and they have a write-off for their taxes for that. So they've been both compensated and they get that write-off, okay? Because the debt collectors generally don't pay them the whole amount. They pay them a portion of it, and then they use the rest of it as a write-off. Now the debt collector has purchased an account and has suffered no loss, because in that purchase, he too gave an exchange. This is presumed contract again, right? So now there's a presumed contract or implied contract from the guy that he bought it from, not with my companion. See, what they're doing there is trying to use that contract as if though now they have a contract with my companion. That ain't so. That's a man in the middle. That wasn't point A to point B.
And so what they do is they get that email address, and then they find out kind of recent purchases. And then they'll use that site and construct an email, like say you ordered something from Amazon 3 months ago. And they'll send you a notice from Amazon saying somebody just recently made a purchase and that it might be suspicious activity. So if you want a refund, call this number. So then you call the number. What you've actually done is you received an email scammer who sent you a notice so he can get your financial information through the Hawala system. This is why I do what I'm doing. I've known about these kind of things. I haven't been able to comprehend how they work, but I know something's wrong, and I'm not going to enter into it. And I told you I've had the same Yahoo email for almost 25 years, folks.
And I was doing paper routes when I was 10 years old. That means I learned how to write checks and do the bank accounting and all that back then. Again, one of those systems I didn't understand what was going on until after I was able to reflect back on it. But back in those days...
Well, that's exactly what they did to the house. You got some third-party guy coming in, allegedly having a contract with somebody else who's allegedly sold something else. I'm not even part of it, but I'm the one there in the detriment when they take the house.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to understand these simple terms that they're using against you. The finance, that's to settle a debt. So if you go in and it says finance charge $100, the $100 is the settlement of the debt, folks. And it even says elsewhere in the code that finance means the sum total of all charges. But then what they do is instead of fulfilling that purchase order as you being the financer, the lender, they turn around and do a credit default swap. Okay? Now they say they're the creditor because you haven't recognized that you're the creditor and made that known. All you have to do is express it. And that's what I'm saying. It really is simple once you learn these terms of when to express them, and it's always going to be in the beginning. Like I said with this, the rental agreement my companion and I just filled out. We let them know we were going to give them amended set of definitions, and the very first one on there was rental agreement means credit agreement.
So Keith, what are addendums in a rental agreement? Is that like an amendment?
Right, it's an amendment or an addition or something like that.
I stood my ground, and I check things when they come in. I'm the importer. I'm the exporter. I'm the one that makes the decisions on my business. I've always been like that. So think about this stuff. Sorry about that. So let's go back to it. So now we see the securing end-to-end communications, and like I discussed in 19 CFR 149.3, the buyer, seller, and ship to party can give a number in lieu of the name and address, and you can do so because you're using a electronic communication. And you can do so because the importer of the record is liable. And therefore, if you do give him a name and address, he is liable for that record. Understand how it works. Do not be afraid, and just let them know that you want end-to-end from the point of origin to the final destination, with the only Hawala allowed to do so according to the network systems, and that is the designer and coordinator of that system, which is the Universal Postal Union. All communications. And this goes to the Treaty of Berne and its protection of literary and artistic works. You have the right to press your record.
See, when they take that name, it's a presumption that that legal name, again, as a contractor, is contracting. But in fact, what they're doing is they're taking the rights, titles, and interests in the property, which is the name, and that is copyright infringement. They have no authority to do so. They have no authority to not give credit where credit is due. Plain and simple.
In any media. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. When we're talking about this, we're talking about the enterprise virtual private networks. Okay. Virtual private network. Enterprise virtual private network securities. And again, I really don't like this term because it's not actually a private or an enterprise. I'm not entering into their prize system. And so we do see the enter though. And this is what we're talking about is proper entry into the record. Proper entry to the record, like I've discussed before, I eventually want my own server network so I can set up my own virtual private network so that we can directly communicate end to end and only use just the network, and we don't have a third-party email or third-party electronic server other than that postal system, which is...
So literally, we're going to be using the cybersecurity network itself.
Is what we're using through the...
just like Yahoo.
Servers. See, they're the server that you have to enter. Their server system is what you have to enter. That's their service. Okay. They're the ones that are providing the network system. That's their service. And that's what we're entering. But we're not entering for any kind of prizes. We're entering for virtual private network security. And it's already set. They already set it for themselves. They're the ones that have to protect all of the records they hold. Okay. So having a private routing from their network, they have to protect everything I've got on my domain. It's already agreed to. It's set forth in their codes. And the next one.
So basically what we're doing is just letting them know it's classified information. The classification is benefactor to beneficiary and back, giving credit where credit is due. Customer agrees to make third-party payment for the consumer so long as it's understood that credit is given to the customer's account. So that's saying that customer agrees to finance the payment for finance the third party, finance the consumer's transactions, so long as it's understood that credit is given to the customer's account. The creditor or the customer is the financer, the creditor, the investor, the principal party.
So Keith, when you're talking about point A to B, does that mean the B, it would be the end user there should be no middleman, is from point A to B, and B would be the end user?
Well, yeah, if you're sending something from one person to another, but in this system, when you're paying for things, it's the circulation and it's in form of credits. So giving credit where credit is due you have to give credit back to the benefactor who gave to the beneficiary. So if the benefactor gave to the beneficiary, which is the record, then the record has to give credit where credit is due, and that's back to the benefactor. They're holding the credits. The source of credits, again, is the Social Security Administration, the account of all events in person throughout one's life. Anytime you give that Social Security number, that instrumentality is being securitized.
Talks about the top routinely exploited vulnerabilities. Now, this is a long list, people, so I'm not even going to attempt to go through it. But there's all kinds of intrusions that they list. And this is just something I'm going to download for my own record keeping so I can hopefully someday go back if I ever need to. But that's it. And they talk about those virtual private networks and stuff. So let's go to the next one. I think it's this one here.
And I did leave a link to this video down in the details section as well, guys.
Okay. Oh, here we go. This is how the Hawala system works. Okay. You're this guy right here. Okay. Right here at the bottom of the family. You're the family guy, and they're going to tear you up. Because you're using this network system. You got all kinds of people over here offering lower transfer fees when we already know that you can do it without any fees. So you should know by them offering a lower transfer fee and not quite being fully disclosing of the fact that you can do it with no fees, that something's hinky already. Okay? You should know this already. They're offering you lower transfer fees. They're offering you financial access by use of financial options, savings, credit, insurance. Savings, credit, or insurance. Now everybody's running around with savings, credit, and insurance. When if all you work on is this credit system, you don't need savings and you don't need insurance.
Most generally, all you need is Series 7's broker. I meant Iman just put it in the back chat. Let me pull it up. Oops. And as she says correctly, Series 7 licensees to sell any individual security. See that McDonald's restaurant where you went and got a job at? You filled out that application, you gave them a Social Security number so they can make sure that you were qualified for unemployment insurance through HIPAA and OSHA. See, it's all about the insurance. And when you make those payments, Social Security and FICA, Federal Insurance Contributions Act, every quarter they tally up all of the credits that you're supposed to receive. Now those are called insurance credits, and that is the source account. Go ahead.
So Keith, these agents are really what is called individual sales insurance agents. Am I correct?
I don't know. I do believe that insurance agents have some kind of brokerage license, but I'm not sure what it is.
Well, if everything is already insured and at the beginning, and the number, supposedly the assigned number from Social Security Administration is an employee number, you would think everything is already insured before that number is assigned to private men and women. I'm just asking.
Well, it is, and that's why I say it's important to understand that Social Security card. And one of these days, I might do a video explaining it front and back. But for basic common things, it's got two pillars on the front. Understand what those mean. I'll do again. It's going to be part of my video on etymology that I want to do next, whether I do it tonight or tomorrow. The number on the front is the Social Security number, and that's got two hyphens in it, and that's on the public side. Now that number can be used both for credit and debit. And so what happens is you use it as credit on one side, they convert it to the other number on their side. Okay, So now that ledger is equalized. But then on that document, there's certain representatives of value that people get confused about. And they don't understand those, and therefore they never qualify a signature, all kinds of things they don't understand. So in that transaction, you're supposed to be quid pro quo another trustee with such experience and license to be able to commit to performing those specific obligations to make sure that that contract is fulfilled. Okay? But when you step into that contract like that, and you're not qualified, that's where the problem comes. That's when the debt comes along. Because if you do it right and you're the benefactor and you understand how that credit system works, all you got to do is let them know firsthand. Customer agrees to make third-party payment for the consumer, thereby financing the transaction, so long as it's understood that the credit is given to the customer's account. And then, of course, be able to support that with your knowledge behind it. 12 U.S.C. 813 has the definition of deposit, telling who is primarily and secondarily liable. 12 U.S.C. or 12 CFR 204.2 says basically the same thing.
Because if the proper credit routing is set up privately, it is already insured, like I said, through the network system. And that network system is already saving all the data elements, which is in fact what your savings are. They keep the money, and the data elements show that you are still active. Okay? Enhanced financial inclusion through remittance-linked financial services.
See, they're including you, but what is it they're including you in?
Like I just said, the data elements are the financial foundation. And if you keep those data elements at the top level, that's your top service, that you're linked directly to the top service. So my only problem right now is getting the postal service to accept the title. And like I've explained before, I believe the process is to take all those titles with expenses incidental at the state level and send them back to the agencies with directives to all of those to then transfer the title to the United States in the interest of the United States on and for the record of the United States for full acquittance and discharge. And then along with those, returning all those titles to the agency, you're going to return the driver's license to the DMV and the and the certificate of title to the Department of Transportation. You're going to all your licenses back to the licensing commissioner. You're going to send the.
Again, this is not legal advice either. This is more a presupposition of a process to separate yourself entirely, as opposed to operating one of those LLCs or sole proprietors or a UCC1 and do all those vendor forms, battle of the forms. Again, still a trust operation, but now you're taking upon that actual contractual position as a trustee. So you have to know when to play it and when not to. You can still play the benefactor for the beneficiary.
So again, if they suspend driver's license, because I noticed like in the last 4 years, a lot of people they've been suspending driver's license. Are they aware that this change is to come? So that's the reason why they're doing suspensions of driver's license?
I don't know. I couldn't say. I wasn't aware there's a change because I really don't care if there's a change. I'm not applicable. It's not applicable to me. Again, understanding the motor vehicle operator's lease agreement, it says that you have to have a handwritten letter of intent or statement of intent that you intend to use the motor vehicle that you pledged to the state as security property for at least 50% of its use for your trade or business, proving two things: that it's a usufruct, and that if you don't know the definition of trade or business, then you are in fact performing the functions of public office without knowing so. And if you didn't give that statement of intent, then the certification of title is false, because that statement of intent is what would certify that title. Certification of title is false. I've done at least 5 videos on it.
The Social Security card back to the Social Security Administration. And in that one, your directive is to have them close the account, transfer all securities to the United States. Title to all securities to the United States. That's 49 CFR. I posted it many times. It's 49 CFR, 42 CFR, and 39 CFR. And all you got to do is put those CFRs in, and then expenses incidental.
And actually, I misstated it there. It's 49 CFR, expenses incidental to transfer of title to the agency. 42 U.S. Code, not CFR. Expenses incidental to transfer of title to United States. 39 CFR, expenses incidental to transfer of title to Postal Service.
To transfer of title to, and it should pull them all up. It should pull them up. 49 CFR, expenses incidental to transfer of title to, and it should put up expenses incidental to transfer of title to agency. It'll fill it in. So let's go back to the Hawala here. Because when we're dealing with these scammers, this is what they're doing. They're trying to include you in a remittance of a refund. Okay? So they send you a email because of their piracy, I'll call it. I will call it piracy, because that's what it is. They're pirating electronic information. Okay? So when you enter things into this automated commercial environment, and it floats around there unsecured with all of these other Hawalers, whether it be YouTube.
So if you are the one that finances something or pays for something, that's the same thing as funding something. So now they want a refund, or they're offering you a refund. So you paid, you funded, you financed. So now they're going to offer you a refund. They're going to offer to repay you. They're going to offer to refinance you. Did you refinance your home loan and get a mortgage? Is that a proper transaction as it's defined? Because if you refinance something, then it was financed to begin with. So who financed it to begin with? Oops.
Twitter, Facebook, Google, Yahoo, any site you ever visit, Amazon, Zelle, Cash App, PayPal. Every last one of them is a Hawala. And every last one of them has data elements that are worth money, depending upon.
See, when you learn how that Social Security card works, like I said, that front side is the private or public side, and it operates both the credits and debits. The back side works on the private side, and it literally knows, and that's why there's only one use of that number, in fact. It's a direct routing credit. That's the actual credit.
What are the data elements that are worth money? What are the data elements that are worth money?
The given name and the family name.
Why is that worth money?
Because they make money off of it. That's an investment. It starts an investigation, which is a medical record that will keep track of the history of the health of the being. It's literally an investigation. It's the gateway of investment. Don't know why they're calling. Don't even know who it is. All right. So back to it. understand what's happening when they talk about refund or repayment or refinance. Somebody already funded it, somebody already paid it, somebody already financed it. And if you finance something, that literally means, remember, the sum total of all charges. These are banking and financial terms that they know, and if they don't, they are very well defined.
How it's used. And that's what we're stopping. It's not going to sit in their hands, and they are no longer, as bank holding companies, are no longer going to hold anything. They are mere pass-through along the route from end to end. And the only data elements they can capture are the ones that are already preset, so they can just make the automatic transfer. Nothing else. No offers.
So PayPal can't take data elements that come in and put them on a ledger in their private Hawala as a debt without a source of that debt. If you don't let it happen.
No refunds, because they shouldn't be giving you an offer or a refund for anything that's already free. Okay? Again, the transfer is free. That's all you got to establish. It's already paid for. They're already paid through the actual union. They are acting as a union member, as a Hawala of the Hawala itself, of the trust. Okay?
See, that Global Postal Trust Services, that Hawala is operating in that trust, and therefore the trust is already compensating them. Everything else they're getting is a private investment. Unless they're getting other investments from the public corporations, of course, which would be those that they advertise for or provide location information for. See, that's what they're doing, is they're providing location information.
Why does the theater commander allow this to happen?
Because he doesn't know the part he plays. Again, like I said, many of these people have been highly indoctrinated, and they don't know the parts they play. They will sit there and agree that when they walk out that door and leave for work, before they walked out the door, that they were both or all three a pet owner, a father, and a husband. And as soon as they walked out that door, though he still remained that, he was now on his way in transition to be a boss or employee while still remaining a father, husband, and pet owner. So that, or even a homeowner, various different hats that we wear all at the same time, but don't think about certain ones while we're under the specific hat that we're performing. You don't perform as a dad. You don't use the form of a dad while you're at work as a boss or an employee. You use the authority of an employee or a boss, not that of a dad.
As you say that, Keith, that reminds me, I noticed a while ago when I signed into one of my old emails, it would send a notification for me to verify if it was myself signing in, and then when you clicked on there, it seemed like it was pinpointing your location. Is that what you just recently talked about?
Absolutely. You know, pay attention, folks. Credit card. Any card, plate, coupon book, or credit device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. Now, we all agree that this laptop here is a nice device. The desktop is a nice device. The iPad is a nice device. The phone in your hand is a nice device. And every last one of them, though they have many uses, we can still use all of them to obtain money, property, labor, or services in the electronic forum which is the credit source. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense because now I'm thinking about service, because if you break up the word service, it's like service, like device.
Exactly. You guys catching on? Sir, as in surname. Vice. What's a vice? Uh-oh. Very
Isn't
simple,
a
people.
vice is a tool, right? It's a tool that you constrict
Well,
something, you right?
well, well. It's also the VI, which is violence, which is what do you have? Vice versa, and what do you have? You have vices, and they're all a derogatory sense um, of a tightening and a restriction, like a vice, a physical vice that a man would use in a shop. It's going to hold. It's going to restrict the movement, just like we're talking about here. Service is going to restrict movement, or it's restricted to specific movements, the transfer of property.
And this is what they're doing. They see a gap in the data. It's not going end to end. There's all kinds of people with their grubby hands up your ass reaching your wallets. And so they reach into. And that increases the market competition because it's like a bunch of piranhas. They smell meat. And that supports an enabling environment. So again, I urge you people, if you're not wanting to support that environment, learn how to create your own. I've already done this in a developmental stage.
Again, like I said, it gives a centralized point of origin in a decentralized system. Again, relative to the Treaty of Berne, for one's literary and artistic works as the very original creator of those data elements. That's why I say coin your words or purse your lips. If you're going to run around babbling, you're going to pay for those words. If you know how to coin them, they'll pay you. Credit will be given where credit is due.
And like I said, I'm still trying to work on getting those data elements all the way over to the private side and making the Postal Service the actual bank routing. So that even though I got a PayPal card, PayPal is just pass through for the Postal Service. And they're no longer a pass through for the IRS or the Social Security Administration. They now have to recognize the Postal Service. Okay? Because if they're the Hawala and they are operating under the Hawala, then the operator of the Hawala is the one that gave them that trust position to be a Hawala. And that's what it is. Hawala is the trust. And the operators of that trust have the power over the Hawalers, which are the trustees under that trust. Like I said, it's all the bank, postal union. The postal union runs the banks, the railroads, the roads, the canals, everything that moves in commerce, and everything that moves outside of commerce. They're the ones that move everything. And that postal union is a union of navies around the world, indentured under the law of nations, so that they have to go.
That's that Royal Navy. See, again, that's that Boston Tea Party, because they didn't want to have to go over and pay their taxes to the Queen by running their tea all the way over there to have it weighed and measured to pay the appropriate amount, and so that she could put a stamp on there so they could have safe travels back. So nobody would pirate them at a great expense to themselves, and then turn around and dump the damn tea in the sea. They should have just, they should have just sold it, said, fuck the Queen, come get us at your expense.
Go to war, they will.
Well, series
To protect the country, they will go to war.
Go ahead.
I want you to notice that in the series 7, there's multiple different series, and I put that in the chat for you.
Yeah, I saw that. I've already got them pulled up.
Okay.
Quit being belligerents, because the war is already there. It's already here. We live under martial law, people. I've told you many times, the Libra Code tells us succinctly in Article 10, the martial law affects chiefly the police and the collection of public revenues and taxes. And of course, it's for the Army's use and in the efficiency of safety and efficiency of its operations. That's it. If you're not in that war, prove it. Quit using their fiat currency known as commercial paper. Learn how to stand on your word by putting it down succinctly so they can't say that you're liable. And when we do that on the private side, even if you do have an error in the English, they can no longer say that you're liable, because then it would just be a general mistake, a general error. So bring an English major in. Let's get some assistance in here. Let's upgrade. So think about this, people. I hope you enjoyed the video today. When we're talking.
All right. So what do you think, folks? You gotta be more careful about what you enter into this internet.
A lot more careful.
Well, if you're sourcing of information, Keith, and you have to enter information in there, I mean, how can you prevent not to? I mean, like yourself, you're always searching for information, knowledge to what they say, to make yourself, to show yourself approved. Same with myself. So how would some circumvent or go around that? I mean, am I asking something ignorantly or not?
No, it's just a matter of, it's just like riding a bike. It's a matter of developing your ability to journal in the different forums and make sure that that journal is protected under the various protections that are already there. Being able to assert that, understanding the copyright issue is to give credit where credit is due, and that's synonymous with the banking industry. The law is uniform throughout all jurisdictions. Just learn the different languages that say the same thing in each of those different jurisdictions. The buyer is the one that issues. The borrower is the one that issues. So when the employee, when McDonald's issues you an application upon your request, you are the requester and you are inquiring so you can acquire. What is it you are acquiring? A job. What is the value of that job? And if that's what, if they're buying something on that application, what is the value of what's on that application then? You have to understand the different value systems and how they're going to be converted. Your labor is converted to data elements on a document. That document is entered into another data set known as the electronic form, and that's a book entry security. You gave them a social security number.
It sounds like a position. You said buyer, borrower, and something.
Yes.
The third one. What was the third?
Well, you're a buyer, a seller in a purchase order where a buyer gives you that, issues that document. When the employment agent or the employment agent, McDonald's, issues an application, he is the one acquiring upon your request. What is he acquiring? And in return, what does he require that you want to acquire that $7.50 wage job for?
Okay, so literally they are the,
just because we furnish the number, Keith, doesn't mean they have a right to use it. They got to fill out Form 89.
Oh yeah, that's that authorization form.
Yep, and they never do it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm going to use against the local court clerk who's issuing these garnishments. They're saying they're not using the Social Security number yet on the documentation. It shows the conversion. I mean, it's identical to the Social Security number without the dashes. What do you mean you didn't use Social Security number? Fuck, you did. So anyway, That brings us to the end of our layout for Hawalas. What is it? It's simply a trust, which is a electronic movement of money, which is money or its equivalent under 18 or 12 USC A13 definition deposit. The unpaid balance of money or its equivalent deposited into a financial institution on which they are obligated to give or have given credit. Primarily liable, not secondarily. See, this same thing they do with your utility bills and stuff. See, there's a liability already there. There's already a contract in play saying that there are liabilities. What they do is they transfer those liabilities, and you are acting as a trustee, performing the functions of a public office, a contract office or contract postal unit. You're the one posting. Don't you get it?
You know, Keith, as you said that, that's what the woman I was inquiring, and she was talking about these addendums, and like these, what you just said, it sounded like what she was talking about, because she said you had the utility addendum, you have the, you know,
Yeah.
the different ones that is attached to these leases. So
Yeah, there's a primary billing agent as a landlord, because if he's going to rent the unit out and something goes wrong with that unit sits empty, he's got to keep those utilities on to keep the pipes from freezing in places like Iowa. Now, it's also to help with various other sanitary and health things throughout the nation and throughout the world, of course. That's a primary obligation in a contract that's already there. And what they're doing is they're placing you as a secondary billing agent or a secondary billing party. They're already primary liable, and they're just passing it on to you. You better learn how to read them leases and stuff. And that's why I went through and made sure that everything's understood. The very first one was rental agreement means credit agreement.
well, see, this is the thing, Keith. A lot of these rental places, they are under the premise that they have to have you do an application first before the lease is given. And when you inquire about why can't the lease be given to you up front so you're able to read through it to have clarity, they're saying, well, you know, these are the rules to HOA, you know, but they don't give you clear answers. So I get it.
Yep.
They know what's going on.
Might be a way to go ahead and fill that application out, though. I'd have to look at it. But anyway, that again, like I said, brings us to the end of our stream tonight, folks. Again, I appreciate everybody's support. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe. There is a PayPal button down there for anybody that wants to share some love. Everything is appreciated. And before we leave tonight, I do want to mention I've been doing some shorts on, they're posted on Heckle-Bus and El Perro. So feel free to check those out. I appreciate everybody's support on them already. Please make sure to like and share those, get this out. And
Yeah, I've been getting them out. I've been sharing them. I saw them. They're beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. I plan on continuing to do many more. And like I said, I got almost we're going on 900 videos now. So I'm going to start making some shorts. Keep doing these, of course, but I'm going to be making shorts so that it might help draw some more attention for those that have short attention spans. You know what I mean?
Are you about to end the stream, Keith?
Yeah, what's up? What's on your mind, brother?
How corrupt would you say the postal union is?
It's as corrupt as the information that's been put into it so far, and that's why I say it's up to us to correct things. We already know the record is wrong. All we got to do is point it out and show them, and it should start trickling down, just like a set of dominoes. Because, like I said, once you mention one error in the record, it should cause And if you don't assert it, you're an error yourself. It should cause a full financial audit, going through checking for all errors. This is why I've been doing this for 7+ years, and I know so many errors, and that's what I'm going to call them. I'm going to give them notice of the errors. First duty in law is notice, is legal notice. There have been mistakes. That's the entry to equity as in personam jurisdiction. The name is being mistaken for what it's not. I am not a trustee, never have been. I'm sorry I didn't know what I know today, but had I known, I'd have never been signing in those capacities. But of course, I was indoctrinated into signing these financial instruments, like I mentioned earlier, folks, when I was 10 fucking years old. Wasn't supposed to be. Know what I mean? That's how deep the indoctrination goes, folks. You think I'm playing anymore? You think I think you should be letting your children do this shit? We've given
So
way.
would you say the postal union over like the last couple? God damn, I hate hearing my voice. Would you say over decades, like it's gotten worse, the postal union?
Absolutely. I think everything's gotten worse, JG. And again, that's because the corruption seeps into every part of our life, just like the military. And that's what people don't understand is that military address. I did a video on it last night talking about indigenous government versus military government. And that's what is happening here. Everybody's being treated as an officer or agent or a resident or something like, and they're doing it themselves. That's where the corruption comes from, is the education, and we need to come out of that. We need to start taking on learning and knowing, getting out of this belief system, and have that faith and trust by recognizing what that trust is.
So the military has corrupted the postal union.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, it's the Royal Navy. It's that one world government that's already been there.
So Keith, would one have to send notice to the military and let them know that, they're,
I'm shouting it out I'm shouting it out all over the world with my own site. Like I said, it's been up for over 3 years, and ain't nobody rebutted none of it. IRS and PayPal particularly. I've given notice to the Pentagon twice, two different departments, Joint Chiefs of Staff, FBI, Interpol, FCC. I don't give a fuck. I'm telling everybody. Like I said, call me a snitch, because I'm telling my daddy.
What were you saying, Iman?
This is the battle and this is the fight that we have to fight, because it's like he keeps saying, and Malika says, we have to reorganize our thought pattern, and sync. But sometimes when you tell people that you love these things, they fight you tooth and nail, and they just don't get it. And sometimes you just have to love them, with a long spoon, because they don't get it sometimes. And
well, I know, folks,
because I know we all have been there.
One of my tricks is I like my companion's got somebody coming after for like $430. And of course, it's one of them debt collectors that is a new creditor, giving us the original creditor when we already know that the original creditor isn't in fact the original creditor. So,
Keith, how can I get over on the military?
That Social Security number. Punch in your search engine, folks. And ladies, do this for me too. Punch into the search engine, how do I find my selective service number? It's going to pull you up to a Social Security site, and it's going to ask for your name and address, or excuse me, a name and Social Security number. But when they specifically tell you to enter in the Social Security number without dashes. That's the same number the courts use under that firm name, which is the first four letters of your last name in all caps, which is known as a stock ticker symbol. Now, they don't use that on the stocks because it's in a pooled investment that is then placed into the name of another investor, and they use their stock ticker symbol. So yours remains hidden.
So is that
I'm
something
doing
like
it.
a CUSIP number? A CUSIP number that they're creating?
No, they're using the Social Security number for a different purpose.
Okay.
You never knew of that purpose. Your purpose in giving that Social Security number out was predicated on the assumption that you were going to receive a benefit. This is well known, and that's why they're called Social Security benefits.
How can I
Anyway.
get the military to credit me money? How can I get the military to credit me money?
Like I said, the source account is a Social Security account. That's where the ledger is held, where one side of the ledger shows the public, and it's got both, or excuse me, it's on the public side, and it's got a number that can both be used publicly or privately. As a private man, you use the Social Security number. When you hand that to a public servant for service, you get squeezed. Now the liability's on you, and they use it for their benefit, for the credits on the other side for that credit routing number. It's all a matter of the routing and where it's going. That's a double-sided ledger that you're holding in your hand when you hold that Social Security card. Look on the front.
I'm kind of being an ass with these questions, but I'm just trying to pick your brain.
I love it.
But
I need these kind of questions, JG.
Yeah. I know it's kind of dumb, like they're kind of foolish questions, like, fuck it. But why has the military become so corrupt? Why have they become, such scumbags?
Because of the education system. The education system, again, like I said, how do you expect to have a strong nation if the general population has an average reading comprehension of 7th or 8th grade? Those people can't even understand legalese. That's why I say a man's intellect is limited and biased by his own vocabulary. Even like we expose with the definition of legalese in their own codes, Cornell Law School, legalese is merely for the prestige of the legal society.
So what is the military scheme? What's their machination?
It's literally for the protection. But people don't understand this, and so they think it's an affront against them. And it, again, because it's the indoctrination of the people not knowing how these instrumentalities are supposed to be used in the usufruct. Mom gave a name in exchange for the state taking care of the administration of a state for a supposed decedent if that event happens. So what they do is they create a birth certificate, and that operates as evidence of one being born, a material fact in life, whereas it's predicated that one day there will be a death certificate, so that if that person dies, or if that man dies, and the state has not received a living will discontinuing the administration of the estate, then it will be probated because they didn't hear from him. This is why they say you're supposed to give them a living will. Just express your living will. I've done that with my site. It's public notice. Anybody on the earth can look it up as long as they have access to a device to obtain it on credit, whereby that credit comes right back to me. Because it is the original source. It's my living will. Nobody's ever stated it before until I did. And that's all it takes. Letting them know that you know myself now. I have a living will, and it supersedes the probated will that the state wants to administrate in violation of Scott versus McNeil. A court of probate has no jurisdiction over the estate of a person who is in fact alive.
So Keith, do you think if many of us come together and create our, exactly what you're talking about, and then we broadcast it in some of these platforms because it already have a timestamp and date on it, then we're giving them notice?
Absolutely. That's why I say coin your words or purse your lips. You don't need a site. As long as you consistently profess that every word of God is pure and it is a shield unto he who put their trust in God, you have expressed a superior trust that everyone will recognize. And it's the perfect reason for standing on your word and making sure to ask good questions to make sure that you comprehend, as well as the other party, the same intent and effect of the words, terms, and conditions that you're using. Again, you're using. You didn't invent that word. Who invented that word? Literally. Invent. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. That was the invention. And it doesn't need to be patented. It is patent. And you can copy it all you want. It's free. As long as you give credit where credit is due, all glory goes to Him. And with that, we are out. Any last words?
No, good show again.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. Well, with that, you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. Oops. Let's get rid of that real quick.
That's
I don't
what the
want
military says.
Say that again.
That's what the military says.
So anyway, you know I love you. I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. And that's say I don't care if you hate me. So may God bless you and have a good night.
Fuck 'em.